Hey, welcome back to Evil's Comics. I'm Evil Mike, and I got a review for you. This is going to be from Hero Tomorrow Comics. This is Bloom, issue number 4, written by Ted Sikora and art by Butch Mapa. Um, let's get into it. I'll do some backstory in the back. The story so far, and it's awesome in this comic because it catches you up from issues 1 through 3. But the story is pretty much Ramsey. He is a mechanic and a comic book like a creator that's starting up. He is in Cleveland, Ohio during 1969. Currently, Woodstock is in the background of the comic. Music does play a major importance in the book. But Ramsey starts experimenting, and I'll kind of show off some of the backstory while we go into this. Ramsey has been experimenting with trying to create a villain. He purchases a mannequin in the first issue and starts drawing these symbols on the mannequin, and eventually, like, him and his fiance, I think it is, they attend Patty is her name, and Ramsey and Patty, they attend a street festival. He ends up running into a woman named Regina, which is kind of the main character of Bloom. But he convinces her to do some shoots in the woods, like some picture shots of her with the symbols painted on her as this villain Regina, so he can start getting a better image, so he can draw her for the comic kind of thing. They go out into the woods, and Regina, she starts changing, and it's more so like the symbols just kind of unlock who she was always supposed to be. And it's kind of like from that point on it changes, and she becomes the Regina she was always supposed to be. But she gets like this flood of imagery and stuff like that, but we'll get into it because that's kind of where issues 1 through 3 get into. There's a whole bunch of stuff between Ramsey and Regina on kind of like their journey through the woods as she's changing into Regina, and then once she is the Regina, I guess you could say, because she was always Regina kind of thing. So the book does start out, and it's going into they're doing a cover band from the Beatles, with a little help from my friends, but it's Joe Cochran's cover of that specific song at Woodstock, and they're basically, and it kind of ties into like that with a little help from my friends kind of plays an importance, because Regina at this part, she starts getting all these flooding of like imagery of like her past lives basically, and how like throughout like history she is kind of like her soul and essence has kind of been like prophets and stuff like that throughout history, and they kind of highlight on all the good stuff and stuff like that, and they kind of go back into with a little help from my friends kind of thing. The book kind of jumps forward, and it shows some more imagery, like some flashes through her lives, and it's all the times that we as people have come across prophets and witches and anybody that has foresight or that kind of power or something like that, and what we have done to them kind of things, like especially like the burnings and sacrifices and just outright hatred of the kind of thing. When this happens, they do show you right here that in real life, because of what Regina's going through, all of a sudden there's this storm that happens at Woodstock. It could be like coincidental, but I have a feeling it's not. It's Regina, going through this and seeing all the, all the time she's died and been persecuted and sacrificed, and through bigotry or hatred or something like that. At this time, Ramsey's like, no, because he's literally seeing her floating and going through all this stuff, and she's talking and explaining what's going down and stuff, and he tries to bring her back down, and instantly he starts tripping out, and they do show on the background, and they've kind of touched on this throughout the comic, but basically Patty's trying to find what happened to Ramsey, and they do come to the conclusion that maybe he went to Woodstock, that's going on, and maybe he took off and went to Woodstock. They do show that there is like some coincidental stuff that is happening at Woodstock, like they show over here in this panel that someone at Woodstock, it looks like he OD'd or something, and it almost looks like Joe Cochran. I'm not positive. I don't remember like like a lot of stuff that went into Woodstock a little before my time. I know a lot about Woodstock, but I don't remember if Joe Cochran. So I might just be a regular person. I don't know. But they do show that someone kind of OD'd at Woodstock while like Regina is going through this, and like, you know, it's flooding through her mind and stuff, and like Ramsey is like, he's still kind of like, you know, he's convinced she's a villain kind of thing, and he's trying to like stop her and like, you know, kind of bring her back to like, hey, you know, this was supposed to be just a photo shoot, you know, kind of what's going on, you know, and like you know, he really thinks it's just a bad trip kind of thing, that she's having a bad trip, you know, and eventually she takes the stick and using her newfound like power, or always had power if you want, you know, kind of how you want to put it, but like she takes the stick and like she says this little incantation about like it being like 400 pounds, and you can see in the panel over here that like all of a sudden the weight of the stick is like 400 pounds, and she puts it specifically on his crotch, you know, and she kind of goes into like, man, you just like kind of witnessed everything that I went to and heard everything that I went to, and this is how you're gonna react. And it's like the same thing, and she was like, you know, I need to ask you some questions because the voices, all these my past lives are telling me not to trust you, and I need to ask you some questions kind of thing. So be careful how you answer. And like from Ramsey's side, that, I mean, it really is like 400 pounds of pressure on like his midsection and stuff. She kind of explains that even in her past lives, she has lived as a man before, so she knows how it feels kind of thing. But she basically asks, you know, through all witnessing all this, you know, how is it possible that he could not believe that she has this power, especially because of the stick and, you know, stuff like that, and asking, you know, at this point, it is, you know, it is Ramsey really with Regina, you know, you know, witnessing all this stuff and knowing who she is now, is he really gonna give up all, you know, all his criticism and hate and stuff like that, and kind of like, you know, just, you know, listen to Regina and kind of go with her kind of thing. At the same time, they break over to like back to Woodstock, and they show like Alvin Lee and his performance at Woodstock over here at the top. They show like Patty, and they're like finding Ramsey's car and stuff like that. They are like, they have like kind of figured out that Ramsey's in the woods kind of thing on Patty and the officers, and eventually like Regina, it jumps back over to Regina and Ramsey, and they're basically like, you know, talking, and Ramsey says you know, he's basically, you know, he believes in Regina and stuff like that. And Regina starts walking over this cliff, and she's explaining what she's about to do, and how she's really going to get revenge on all the people that had like persecuted her and betrayed her, and, you know, throughout the years. And they get to the cliff, and Ramsey for some reason gets the notion of like try and push her off the cliff, and for some reason it doesn't work. I have to imagine that she just made her feet like, you know, implant into the ground or something like that. But at that point, you know, she's like, look, I mean, the voices were right. I should have listened to them. You are this bad guy kind of thing, you know. I gave you the chance, and like, I mean, you witnessed everything that I went through, and this is still your response, is to like try and kill me kind of thing. You know, I haven't done really anything bad to you or anything like that. You know, and so instantly they like start fighting and stuff, and, you know, basically Regina like saying that she doesn't need to use her powers to like beat the crap out of him kind of thing. And eventually she does. She like, I mean, you can see right here, like in WWE fashion, you know, she picks him up and she puts him up against this tree, and then she uses her power to like, you know, kind of use the, you know, she uses nature to like come alive and like intertangle him. All of a sudden we get this like, this imagery right here that like at the last second it didn't like interlock around his body, and for some reason it like sprouted up as spikes all throughout Regina and ends up killing her. He gets loose, and you know, all of a sudden he starts hearing Patty, because she's searching through the woods looking for Ramsey, you know, trying to save him and stuff, and he ends up, you know, finally finding her, and yay, that's the end of the story. Yeah, but that's not what happens. Like, basically he blacked out, and that's what he wanted to happen, but that's not what happens. Those twigs did really intertwine around him, and now he's locked up against a tree and stuff, and Regina's still out there, and finally realizing that he woke up from being locked up and stuff, and she was like, man, she was like, I can't, she's like, I could kill you, and she was like, but I was thinking, it wouldn't really be like the best thing to kill like the person that made me kind of thing. So I was kind of thinking I have like, kind of a different, use for you kind of thing. And basically, she takes out this Bible and says it's like the Bible of Regina or the Book of Regina or something like that. And she starts reading about like how this little passage, and how about like it's like and she says, reading from the Book of Regina, and she's like, when she who freely with pure love gave her flesh so that the ram man might be inspired to bear birth to a goddess, when she did find herself by the same ram man betrayed, a monument was ordered. And she changes it to like basically like be a monument erected, not really ordered. And at this point they even show you like right there, she really like instantly she jumps forward and she smashes through Ramsey's chest, and like it's another thing that Regina's just messing with him. It's like a spirit thing, and she really doesn't kill him or anything like that, but she makes him believe that she did do that. And I mean, again, he faints and he blacks out and stuff, and at this point like that it's kind of left up to what really happens. But honestly, I think she says goodbye and she just kind of leaves him there. And because I'll show you a little bit in the future, but they kind of show these like fading away panels of like her praying to him and saying goodbye, and well, not really saying goodbye, just screaming his name. But they jump forward and they show like a scene later on in the future, and it's like these 12 individuals that are being brought to a wooded area. They are tied up, and they are like they have mask where they can't see and stuff like that, and they're being herded to a location, and it's explained that they're all there on their own free will, and the trek is hard and this and that, and eventually they make it to the spot in the clearing, and they're all their masks are removed or everything, and they are there at the church of like Regina, or and basically, as you can see, they have Ramsey, and he has been made into a monument. And you can kind of see his body right there and stuff like that. And she goes into telling the story about the Ram Man, about how, and it's like, she's basically, she was blessed to share the story of the Ram Man, the artist, the mechanic, and they met 7 years ago at a festival. And that's basically where the book leaves us off at. It does say, and I'll kind of touch on some other things, it does say that we are getting more of Appa that's coming in 2022. Not Appa, it's Apalma. I'm sorry, Apalma. And that's where Regina first came from. It says that Regina first came in issue number 5 of Apalma. And I think there is like, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 12 issues of Apalma. So I guess this would be like maybe the 12th issue that's coming out, or the 13th issue. I do know there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 issues of Tap Dance, and then there's Punchline. I have the first issue of Punchline, and it does show right here that Punchline issue number 2 is coming out, and right there we have Apalma and Punchline on the cover look like they're about to go down. There's some great things at the end of this book as well. In every issue there was this, the page of Aquarius, and it's basically kind of the story of, talking about like how him and Butch first kind of got, introduced, and how they kind of blossomed and have been, together on this project. They kind of have this, the Bloom playlist and all the different, music that Ted has been listening to while he was, either writing or coming up with the story, that kind of thing. Let's see, it does show you like everything within the kind of I don't know what he calls it, but I would say the Cleveland verse, because Apalma, Tap Dance Killer, and all the various, there's a little section with Ted, but there's some other cool things too. There's original art back here, and I want to say it's a tribute to Regina, maybe a cosplay or something like that. On the back cover, I don't know if this is, but this is the signed cover. Ted was fortunate enough, and he sent me all 4 issues signed, and they are all variant covers. But on the back, when I open it up, there's this. I can't tell if it's an original sketch or a print, but it looks original to me. So I thought that was pretty crazy. But that is issue Bloom number 4, the conclusion of the story. I mean, it was amazing, and especially at the end, I did not see it kind of going that way. The fact that Regina, like the whole backstory about the prophets and everything, it was just, I mean, chef's kiss. One of my goals this year is definitely going to be tracking down the Palma issues 1 through 11 or 1 through 12, the ones that already exist, and then maybe tracking down Tap Dance Killer too. I love everything I've read and the art from Butch Mapa, but Ted Sikora. So that is going to be one of my going goals. But I do know that you can get all this at Hero Tomorrow Comics. And he does have lots. Like if you just specifically want to buy single issues, he has some of those up. And I think he has full lots from Palma and Bloom. And so please check out Hero Tomorrow Comics. And it's not expensive at all. I think, and don't quote me on a price, but I want to say for a Palma, you know, all the issues, I think it's like $30 or something like that. So it's not very pricey, and that's why it's going to be one of my goals, you know, going forward. But please check out both Hero Tomorrow Comics, Ted Sikora on Instagram, and it's just Ted Sikora, I think one word. Butch Mapa on Instagram, and I think his name is like Tutu. Give me 1 second. Don't quote me on that, but I will put it in the description down below. All these descriptions will be in the you know, down below. Oh, I put this in the playlist, you know, Bloom 1 through 4, if you want to see my previous, you know, my reviews on Bloom issues 1, 2, 3. I've reviewed them all so far. And Punchline and the, you know, the Vlog Villains, I reviewed that comic. But hey, I got more reviews coming, I got more lives coming, more trivia. Please like, comment, subscribe. Check out all the people in the description below, especially Ted Sikora. He has definitely become one of my favorite writers from 2021, and I'm looking forward to reading a lot more of his stuff coming forward. But hey guys, I will see y'all later.